Welcome to Turnpike Sports. I'm Dave Weischadle, and as always, I'm joined by my producer and co-host, Doug Weischadle. Doug, we are back from the SBC Summit North America. What a great time.
It was a great conference. Actually,
did I get the title right?
It was got the title
it's
right.
Always a tongue twister for me.
You know, it was one of those conferences and exhibitions together, and I have to admit, with the amount of people that were there, in terms of the sports betting community and also the iGaming community, it was set up very nicely by SBC and the Meadowlands Expo Center, and the conferences themselves were really, really informative, really good, really timely, too.
Oh, you know, it was great stuff. I got a lot of stuff, a lot of information from everyone involved in the iGaming and sports betting world. Great to see a lot of people that I haven't seen in a couple years.
It was great. It was actually really nice face-to-face. I mean,
finally.
we had a whole year or so of virtual webinars and virtual conferences, and quite honestly, you do get tired of the virtual side of things.
Networking is fun in person. It's really difficult on Zoom.
Yeah.
The networking thing.
I know a lot of people tried on the virtual side, the virtual happy hours, where I guess some people sat in front of their computers with.
Well, not for this.
Not for this one.
Not for this one. This one was actual networking live.
That's what I was getting into. The networking part of it was the most fun part of it. Everything was great about it overall, but you know, it was just great to actually be face to face with people again in a conference of that size.
Well, we got a great show coming up for you. We got a Beatin The House segment. We have, is it week 14 NFL picks? Really? Week 14 already? Yes. Oh, my God. We have a book report coming up, and in my interview portion of the show, what do I call it? Interview section of the show? My interview?
Whatever you want to call it.
Sit down with people?
It's the time I sit back and just run the board.
Yeah, you run the board. It's part 2 of my conversation with Joe Dorsey, who's the subject of the book, Joe's Dash, from $1 Million Drug Bust to Multi-Million Dollar Collections for Las Vegas Casinos. You know, he had so many great stories, we had to make a 2-parter out of it. So part 2 of Joe Dorsey coming up.
And you know, the fun part is he still had a ton of stories to go through even after we were done talking with him.
I want to pick out a couple of stories, and, you know, I left so many great stories untalked about, but you can go pick up a copy of Joe's Dash and get the full effect, because guy lived an amazing life. Today's trip down the Turnpike is brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using our promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com.
Exit 1.
You know, with all the safety protocols, all the regulations, all the safeguards that are put into place for sports betting operators to use to make sure the correct data is displayed, mistakes do happen. And we have a case of that in New Jersey.
Yeah, that made a big news story in New Jersey here.
Well, Canby and Rush Street Interactive confused the date of a soccer event. It was a soccer game. That led to the voiding of 86 wagers.
From what I gather from looking at the news reports, the soccer match occurred the day prior to when the points and the spreads were placed on the boards. Am I correct in that one?
This was a soccer game between Manchester United and Liverpool back on May 13th, 2021. Right. Now, on the Canby side, Canby supplies all the data to Rush Street Interactive. Canby supplied the date of this event as happening May 14th and not May 13th.
Okay.
And a lot of the betting public caught on to this because it really involves just one bet. It was a special prop bet, Manchester United, Marcus Rashford, whether or not he would be able to score against Liverpool. And he did.
Okay.
And people who were watching that game on May 13th may have, taken advantage of the misplaced date on the board.
You know, I saw that story and I thought to myself, would I be, conscientious enough to actually pick that out? Would I notice that as a recreational sports bettor? And I came to the conclusion there's no way I would be able to pick that out. There's no way I'd be able to notice, hey, they got the wrong date wrong. So, it was corrected. Everything was sorted out. And I quite frankly, I was absolutely impressed by how closely these sports bettors watched the dates and the numbers. And it's just absolutely incredible.
86 bettors.
86 of them, yeah.
And I guess they fall under the
By the way, they're
definition of
lucky it
sharps.
wasn't more. Yeah.
Well, they didn't put too much money on because they didn't want to raise attention to it. I mean, a total of $15,000 was won on that bet. So it wasn't a huge amount of money in the grand scheme of things. But
I guess if a lot of bets poured in on that match, more bets than usual, I
Right.
guess that would have sent off red flags everywhere. So, I guess 86 bettors noticed it, and 86 bettors were,
profited by it
they profited by it,
for the time being.
but they also were, I don't want to say smart enough, but they were smart enough not to throw a ton of money on it, not to give any indications that something was going on here.
Well,
The
depending
fact that only 86 bettors
depending on
was
how
surprising
this,
to me.
depending on how this came about, since it was a supply side error,
Yeah.
it's an easier situation to deal with, according to what I was reading from the Division of Gaming Enforcement side of everything. The Rush Street Interactive voided the bets,
Yeah.
but they did it without permission from
Oh,
the
okay.
New Jersey Division of Gaming Enforcement. Anything like that, even if it's the right thing to do, you gotta get approval. So they didn't get approval to go ahead and void those bets, which translated into a fine anyway.
Yeah.
But again, it was one of those things where Rush did report it to the Division of Gaming Enforcement. They did it in the right fashion. They just went ahead and voided the bets without getting approval. That would have been the same result anyway. I mean, I guess by law or by rule,
Yeah.
they had to get fined.
Sure.
Both of them had to get fined.
Sure.
So,
Well, one thing you got to know in the gambling business, whether it be casinos, whether it be poker, whether it be online, whether it be anything in the gambling, you have to get permission before you do anything. It's such a heavily regulated industry. You want to move a table in a poker room, guess what? You got to fill out reports and get permission for it, because you know what? You just can't do things off the cuff. You have to get permission for everything.
or in the case of Encore Boston Harbor, you got to get permission to remove tables. So,
Well, everything. Like they said, everyone, credible casino companies, which they all are, I think, and because they wouldn't have a license if they weren't, they know the rules. They have to get permission. Nothing happens in a casino without permission being given.
yeah.
If you ever drive to a casino and you drive and you go into the parking garages, who has the best parking spots? Keep an eye on that.
It's always the Casino Control Commission.
Casino Control Commission.
Or the
You know
Division
why?
of Gaming Enforcement.
Because you know what? They have agents on the floor all the time, not only looking at gamblers, but looking at the casinos. Make sure everyone's doing the right thing. So always get permission if you're in the casino industry.
I actually wanted to know what would have happened if it wasn't a supply side from the data side. What if it was, the front-facing company? I wonder what the situation would have been there, because when it's a supply side, automatically that the waiver is, kind of iffy on the face.
Well, look, it made the news in New Jersey. I'm sure it made the news everywhere else in this country. We're talking about it, but in the grand scheme, it wasn't a big deal, and I'm glad it wasn't a big deal. But a situation like this, I'm glad it happened like this, because I know it's not going to happen again, because they're going to be really, really conscientious and look at the things and look at the dates and look at the spreads and make sure this doesn't happen again.
Well, they have already instituted a additional measure.
Okay, there you go. What did they do?
All members of their staff are required to get secondary approval from a supervisor before they can punch in any data manually.
See, that's what, I don't think it was a mistake.
From the data side.
It was a mistake, but it wasn't a huge...
Could have been.
It could have been, but it wasn't a huge mistake, which leads to better procedures like what you just said and what they put in place. So, I'm glad it was small. It wasn't hurtful to the industry, but you know what? Now they have better procedures in place.
Exit 2.
In today's esports exit, Riot Games has announced that the world's 2021 finals for League of Legends saw 73.9 million peak concurrent viewers.
Whoa.
And an average minute audience of 30.6 million
Wow.
people.
Now, where were these views? Is this a Twitch thing, or is this from different places that they kind of combined it and said, hey, we have over 73 million visitors?
The finals this year were broadcast in 18 languages
Okay.
across 34 different platforms. That's why these numbers are huge.
I gotta be honest with
34
you.
different platforms.
I couldn't even name 18 different languages. So that's impressive.
Well, this was this last version of the finals held in Reykjavik, Iceland, over a 1 month period ending November 2nd. 22 teams, 11 regions, $2.3 million prize pool.
Hey, let me see if I can get this name correct. Reykjavik? Is that it? Reykjavik?
Well, I mispronounced it.
No.
so-
I'm just curious because it was. I guess it was an Olympic
Reykjavik,
Games.
it was an
Reykjavik?
Olympic- it was an Olympic
Olympics,
site,
did it?
yeah.
Reykjavik. That's
Well,
where I've heard
this,
it before.
this wasn't the Olympics, but it was the League of Legends finals for 2021.
No, this wasn't the Olympics. I think it got better ratings than the Olympics.
A lot of these esports tournaments are getting better ratings than Olympics. But again, 22 teams, 11 regions, 1 month period, $2.3 million prize pool, won by Edward Gaming from Shanghai, China. Edward Gaming was the team that won.
Okay, all right. I thought it was the guy's name.
Yeah, I know, Edward.
What is that? What a cool ass name, Edward Gaming.
He had to have been an esports pro
Yeah.
if that was his name. According to Stream Hatchet, which is it's almost like a Nielsen's for esports streaming.
All right.
Live streaming data from Stream Hatchet showed that 12 years after its 2009 release, that was when League of Legends started, League of Legends is still one of the most watched video games across all platforms. It's generated 252 million hours watched on sites like Twitch, YouTube Gaming, Facebook Gaming. 252 million hours watching League of Legends.
You know, that's League of Legends is like the first thing I think of when you say esports. That's the first name that pops in my head, League of Legends. I guess that's the same with everyone.
Well, you know what? That's technically they were the first name
Well,
of
yeah,
esports,
yeah,
if you
yeah.
think about it. But again, that the 2021 finals, according to Stream Hatchet, showed a 60% growth year over year from last year's tournament.
Wow.
So again, now we have not only do we have viewership increasing, we also have, I think, engagement increasing, especially with the esports betting platforms that are constantly coming out now. We're seeing a lot more monitoring of the players too.
You know, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we're getting more viewership. I mean, what do you say? It's over 60% from this time last year?
Year over year.
You know, and that's impressive because, you know, the world is opening up again after the pandemic. Everyone's out. Everyone's doing things outside their home now. And it's the viewership is still going up, which is a really great sign.
Well, I think what esports is showing is that while the pandemic spurred on the growth of it, they didn't need the pandemic to grow.
Well, you know what? I think during the pandemic, it got new customers, it got new viewers, and all of a sudden they grew. And
What you're saying is the curiosity.
It was a kickstart and a good jump, like a jumper cable to the esports.
It was
industry.
also the only thing you could do at home that could
Well, that's
keep
what
you
I mean.
socially distant too.
So, I mean, people, you know, it's kind of a social thing too. I mean, people have friends now that they play against, and
Online,
it became a whole social industry, a whole social world, and you make new friends without leaving the house during the pandemic. So, and I guess it grew from there.
Exit 3.
Staying in the sports betting realm, DraftKings has been sued by two UK-based companies over what they claim is the use of a patented cash-out feature.
Interesting. Now, I'm not a patent lawyer. For everyone out there who doesn't know anything about patent law, you have to be a special kind of lawyer. Not only do you have to pass the state bar exam, but you have to pass the patent bar exam. So it's an extra bar exam if you want to be a patent lawyer. And the limited stuff I know about patents, would this be considered, without hearing the details, would this be considered, since it's a payout method, would this be a business method patent?
It could be both.
Oh, it could be both.
It could be a utility and a business method because
so what you're saying, I'm right.
You're right.
Okay, all right.
It could easily be both. I know.
Okay.
I know. Like
All right.
Amazon, when Amazon introduced that one-click checkout,
Yeah.
That's basically the same type of technology. It's both. It's both a business method and also a tech patent. You call it a utility patent. But here the issue isn't really whether it's a utility or business method patent. It's whether or not a UK patent can be enforced in the United States without having a U.S. counterpart filed by these companies.
Do these UK companies have a patent registered with the U.S. Patent Office, or it's...
I could not find one.
Okay, all right.
That's where the issue's coming into play here.
Interesting, okay.
See, now we have the two companies, Colossus Bets and Diogenes.
Okay. Because I know from your business dealings with a lot of tech companies, I know you talk to a lot of them with regard to patents and intellectual property. You have the U.S. patent, but, you also want to file for an international patent.
Now, they could have an international patent going, or a domestic patent, I should say, on our side of the thing, domestic patent going through the process, which would actually technically protect them.
Okay.
But Colossus Bets and Diogenes filed the patent infringement suit complaint against DraftKings in Wilmington, Delaware, federal court.
Okay, so they
which
filed
means they
in the
have
US.
something in motion in terms of the patent domestically.
Okay.
And this is Diogenes is the owner of 7 patents, which are the focus of the lawsuit.
Okay.
And Colossus Bets is the exclusive licensee of these patents. Now, they are saying that DraftKings, since the start of the post-PASPA era, August of 2018, has been using their patents without permission.
Oh, okay.
To do the cash-out features.
And DraftKings have no patents in this. Okay, all right.
Now, what's happening here is the companies are saying that they are entitled to the amounts that equal to the U.S. bets gross revenues for those bets that were cashed out under the DraftKings banner.
All right, okay.
Now,
well, my question is DraftKings doing something so different regarding cash-out features than other U.S. sports books? I mean, why are they singling out DraftKings? Are they doing something special with their cash-out feature? Why aren't they suing FanDuel or PointsBet or things like that?
Each company has their own cash-out features.
So DraftKings must be similar enough they think is similar enough that they would say, hey, they must be using our patents.
Well, this has started back in 2018 when Colossus sent them warning letters.
Oh, okay. There were warning letters.
They're ignoring these guys.
Oh, okay.
They sent constant notices that they're
maybe
infringing
they
on
feel
their patents.
It's totally different,
Again, it's a matter of let's see where it goes in court. A lot of times you file a complaint like this, you'll get an answer from the opposing party.
Yeah.
But then at some point you're going to have a pre-trial conference, and you're going to settle this matter.
Sure.
But again, when you're talking about from 2018, you're talking maybe over $1 billion.
Yeah, boy, that's a lot of money.
And let's face it, from all the reports you see out there, I don't know how liquid DraftKings is in terms of what they can.
Well, this is going to be one of those things. Who knows? I mean, I don't know what DraftKings. I don't know what their cash out system is. I don't know what is it called? Diogenes. Diogenes. I don't know what their patent says. So I think they got to work it out.
Now the other instance that's going on here is considering they've been sending warnings to DraftKings since 2018. If Colossus and Diogenes can actually prove it's willful, that skyrockets the damages.
Interesting.
Because it falls under, it's same thing in trademarks. When someone is willfully and intentionally infringing upon your trademark, there's the piracy clause that comes into play. Same thing with patents.
I got a feeling this is all going to be worked out.
Oh yeah, it's got to be settled.
It's not going to be.
The amount of money that is involved in this is stupid.
Yeah,
and it's just one of those things where it would make more than adequate sense to settle this before it gets to trial.
Well, yeah, look.
Unless DraftKings has something where they say this is where we got this.
We don't know the
feature.
particulars. DraftKings could have a slam dunk case. We don't know.
No, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, let's see.
Exit 4.
And last but not least, after the Raiders moved to Vegas, I never would have expected the Oakland A's to be considered the next Las Vegas pro team.
It kind of looks like that now. I mean, look, the writing was on the wall in Oakland. I mean, that stadium was awful. And
they couldn't come to a new deal with the city.
And there was no getting right. Something had to have been done. I mean, and it looked like nothing was going to be done on the stadium front. So, I mean, something was going to happen. I heard Las Vegas. I heard someone said Houston, too. Who knows? But Las Vegas would be a great place for it.
Well, according to CNBC's Contessa Brewer, who released the story,
okay,
the Oakland A's are bidding on a stadium for the Tropicana Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas.
Okay.
That would be a very interesting place to put a baseball stadium. I don't know if it actually would work. Down on the Strip.
I mean, would it have any contact with Tropicana?
It'd be adjacent to it.
It'd be just adjacent to it. It's not like it won't be the Tropicana Coliseum kind of thing. It's just next to it, right?
Given these are just rumors, we don't know exactly what they're talking about. I've seen the reports have suggested that it would be a stadium in place of Tropicana.
Okay.
I've seen other ones that say it could be adjacent to it. But according to CNBC, late November, the A's made an offer to an unidentified property located in the Las Vegas region, which now turns out to be possibly the Tropicana. The Tropicana is now owned by Bally's.
Okay.
Which has made a name for itself in the gamification of all the sports betting and sports. Sure. Now they own the regional sports networks. So, it would be kind of interesting. I mean, you have the Raiders, you have the A's.
How long, I'm trying to figure out how long it would take to build a stadium. I don't know the particulars for the, land requirements and the, permits and things like that. I'm curious to see how quickly they could actually build a stadium in Las Vegas like that.
According to the A's president, Dave Kaval, according to him, he said that even though he didn't reveal the exact location of what they were talking about, he said building a stadium or a gaming center or whatever he wants to call it would be about $1 billion.
Wow. Yeah.
And when the talks fell through with the city of Oakland for a new stadium for the A's, even Rob Manfred went to the Oakland team and said, you guys might want to start taking a look around else places.
Sure. I mean, that situation was becoming untenable in Oakland. I mean, they needed a stadium. That stadium is just awful. It's getting to the point where it's just, it's almost unusable pretty soon. So, they had to do something. They had to get the stadium situation done. Like I said, I heard Las Vegas. Someone told me maybe even Houston. Who knows?
Well, so there's plenty of places for the Oakland A's to move. I mean, there's a whole bunch of
baseball
different places.
Well, if we have a season this year, who knows with the walkout and craziness with baseball.
Staying with the lockout, that's a normal process with this CBA stuff. You don't want to go into a season without a collective bargaining agreement in place.
Sure, yeah. I mean, everyone knew it was going to happen. Yeah. It's just a matter of how long it's going to be. So there's a lot of money to be made by both sides. They just have to agree on something. Hopefully, as this moves forward, cooler heads will prevail, and let's see what happens. And today's trip down the Turnpike was brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using our promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com.
And as always, you can get in touch with Turnpike Sports by calling or texting us at 609-512-5910. That's 609-512-5910. At Turnpike Sports is the show's handle on Facebook and Twitter. At Turnpike Sports Radio is our handle on Instagram. And as always, our email address is info@turnpikesportsradio.com. And don't forget, you can listen to the show via Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, radio.com mobile app, as well as Stitcher and YouTube. You can also watch us on your smart TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV. Head on over to turnpikesports.net. You'll be able to watch our video channel there.
Well, we got a great show coming up. We got a Beatin The House segment, and I can't believe it's Week 14 in the NFL. We're going to have our Week 14 NFL picks. We're going to have a book report. And coming up right after this is part 2 of my interview with Joe Dorsey. Joe is the subject of the book Joe's Dash, From $1 Million Drug Bust to Multi-Million-Dollar Collections for Las Vegas Casinos. There were so many great stories. We figured we'd do a 2-parter for Joe. So coming up, part 2 of my interview with Joe Dorsey.
Psst. Yeah, you. Come here. Haven't you heard? We don't need to hide anymore.
Now, we can shop privately for adult products at adamandeve.com. They've got massage oils, lingerie, and lots more we can't mention here.
Use offer code SPICE404.
They'll give you 50% off almost any one item, 3 free DVDs, free mystery gift, and free shipping. That's 50% off, free shipping, and more. Private shopping starts at adamandeve.com.
Today's trip down the Turnpike is brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com. Welcome back to Turnpike Sports. Right now is part 2 of my conversation with Joe Dorsey, who is the subject of an incredible book I just read. The name of the book is called Joe's Dash, From $1 Million Drug Bust to Multi-Million-Dollar Collections for Las Vegas Casinos. And it's all about Joe Dorsey, from his rise as a San Diego police officer to working with some of the biggest casino properties in the world. Right now is part 2 with my conversation with Joe Dorsey. Yeah, I want to ask you about your collection work in a little bit, but I want to ask you, talk about shady dealings. When you started working for the Tropicana, you discovered some scams and stealing from the casino that was actually being done by the staff. Can you explain what was going on with the staff at the Tropicana that you found out about?
Yeah, Dennis went to work at Taj Mahal, came back, and I was working for International Game Technology back then as the director of corporate security. So I know Dennis is going to call me. I know he's going to call me and want me to come back, because the Trop's been notorious for crooks. Mm-hmm. I mean, the owners were mob guys for years. He calls, we cut a deal. I go over there. In the first 15 minutes, I went down to the marketing VP, who was a friend of mine. He's part of Dennis's crew. And I said, bring up some play on the crap game, and he did. And I said, stop right there. Look at that. I said, they got a guy betting $250 a hand, and we're going from the ratings, $250 a hand for 18 hours. And my response was, he better be in a wheelchair, because I don't know anybody who can do that. And reviewed the surveillance tape, because I was over surveillance there and over security, and found out that there was nobody on the game. The game was closed most of the time. So what I found is they had a rating scam going on, and it was the pit bosses. What they would do is they would add a guy as a customer and get him a card that he can swipe for, his play, his ratings. Well, what they were doing is they were putting in phony names, running the cards through the games to build up the ratings for these guys would be RFB, room, food, and beverage. And some of them were airfare. They were so big.
Wow.
And they were selling those cards and the names to people for about $600-700, and they come in and they could stay as long as they wanted, and got comp rooms, comp beverage, comp shows. Some even got comp air, but it was all phony people. These people weren't real. That's the first thing I found. And the second thing is that in the slot areas, well, let me get back to the casino. Then you had the dealers, especially the crap dealers. The crap dealers were hustling the hell out of the customers. What I mean by hustling, they're saying, hey, bet for us, do this, do that. Yeah, bet for the boys. It's called a hard hustle, And so I set up a test. I brought a guy in who knew craps. I says, you don't do anything what they tell you to do. And I gave him $1,000. And I said, go down and play. And he went down and played, did everything they did. And in an hour, we shut the game down. The actual game had $48 dropped in the box in an hour. And then we went in the tip box, and it was $460 in the tip box because they were hustling him so hard. He was doing everything they said. So that was another problem. They were driving customers away. Met with them, said, look, the fun's over. This is it. You start dealing regular like you should be dealing. You'll be bringing in quality players, and those players are going to take care of you. You're running people out of the place. In fact, I had a saying that I wanted to put a poster by the business, where they check in to go to work, time office. Quit stealing. The mob went home. So I grabbed a bunch of them. Then I got into the slot department. There was another false rating crap going on in there. Then we had internal theft from others in the slot department. I had a lady. This is my favorite one. I was on a collection trip, came back, and my surveillance director, and I brought all these directors of mine in, to take care of the place when I was gone. Said, look, we got some suspicious activity in the main coin booth. And that's where they stored all the bags of the silver dollars for the slot machines. When they were running low, a floor person would be called. He'd come over, sign for a bag of 500 coins, and go put them in a slot machine. Well, the one guy went up, and he started to leave with the bag in his hand. He says, wait a minute, this thing's light. And he reported to the surveillance director. We set up cameras on the woman. She was on vacation. When she came back, we saw her messing with the bags. I said, that's enough. Get her in here. So we got her in, started interviewing her. And she was an elderly woman. And I said, look, here's the deal. I don't have time for this. I mean, I got all kinds of fires going on. I said, you tell me who's involved with you and how you're getting into those bags to remove that coin, and I won't charge you. I won't have you prosecuted. I won't even tell the gaming authorities. She was reluctant, and I told her, I said, man, I've made deals like this my whole life in law enforcement, so I'm being honest with you. I'm not lying. You got witnesses here. And so because I needed to know how those seals were getting out those bags, because the other employees who worked the booth probably know it too. She explained that on the older bags, you could spin the seal off and then spin it back on. So at the end there, I said, okay, you're terminated. I'm keeping my deal with you. And I said, how much did you normally take? I think she had about $250 on her when we grabbed her. She was halfway through the shift. She says, about $450. And I said, every day? She says, yeah, every day.
Wow.
And I asked her, I said, how long have you been doing this? She said, 11 years.
Wow. Unbelievable.
So she had taken over $1 million. And, of course, I got to deal with her. And plus, I'm new there. I wasn't there when all this was transpiring. And they have audit units and people that supposed to take care of that. All I wanted to do was stop it now. So I lived up to my end of the bargain.
One of the most interesting roles that you had with casinos was collecting outstanding debts from customers. I mean, for me, I think I was looking at it, and one of the most challenging things I was thinking of when collecting debts from other countries is the laws and the culture. I mean, some of the countries that you had to go to, it was illegal for you to try and get debts from a casino from a customer. And also you had to deal with the culture in which, the different ways of thinking. I mean, one of the guys wouldn't pay you because he wanted to get written apologies from casino executives. Are those the two most important things to understand when you're collecting for a casino, the laws and the culture?
Yes, it is. Yeah, number one, the laws are what dictate what you can do, or you're going to end up in a jailhouse over there eating rice and fish heads. And you don't want that. Trust me. And the culture, I was fortunate. All my buddies from DEA had been up and promoted, and they were all over Southeast Asia, all over Asia. And so if I needed assistance for, say, I'm going over to collect $1 million, and these cops over there, they make $1,400 a year. My DEA buddies, they hooked me up with the higher command guys in the national police usually, and they would assign guys to me. But the DEA guys would educate me on the culture. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, the person that educated me on the Japanese culture in Japan was an active member working for the U.S. government who went to work for General MacArthur when he went in to manage the Japanese country after World War II in 1945. So this person was just, I knew everything about Japanese people. And you take that knowledge. But the one thing you don't do is you don't want to go out and be a thug. Mm-hmm. And so you got to pay, because they don't. I happened to start in 1988. It's when the economy collapsed in Japan. And all these guys they were all players before, and they paid. And, they were millionaires, and they're going to be millionaires again. So I don't want to alienate them. I want them to come back, but I'm going to give them the best way to pay us back. And it worked, mm-hmm. except in one case, one guy, he was just a real, he owed $500,000. He they put up $500,000, mm-hmm. and then they get the $500,000 in credit. So I go to him, and he's a real schmuck. I mean, this guy, it was my fault. I wasn't even there when he lost the money. How can it be my fault? And finally I said to him, okay, here's how it's going to work. And I took that at 1099 form. And I said, you owe us $500,000. But this 1099 form here says that we're going to forgive $100,000 of that debt. And we're going to, of course, the rest of these forms, one will go to us, one will go to the United States IRS, and the other one will go to the Japanese tax authority. At that time, there was a guy by the name of Mizuno who owned a country club here in Las Vegas. The Japanese authorities grabbed him on a tax problem. He went to jail for 2 years before they even heard the case. I explained that to this guy, and you could see his mind going. and he's going, oh, man. Not only do I have to explain the $500,000, I got to explain where I got the $500,000 to get the $500,000, to the tax authority. He says, well, can we make a deal that I only pay the $400? I said, no, we're not doing that. We had to do a lot of traveling and back and forth to get this now. And he paid the $500,000.
Wow. How dangerous was your job? I mean, I remember a story from the book that you received a bag full of cash from a casino customer to settle their debt in the same room of a restaurant where there were Japanese organized crime members. I mean, how potentially dangerous were these collection trips that you made?
Well, it really depended on, the country. But in Japan, I knew the customers very well, most of them. Here's one of the, I'll give you that before I tell you about that organized crime. I had a guy who was devastated by the collapse of the economy in Japan. Honorable guy. Used to come every quarter and gamble $1 million. I went to him, realized that, this guy can't pay. And I've got people that can check on his assets and stuff. And I said, do what you can when you can, okay? Something like 5 years later, that guy called me up. I wasn't even working at the casino anymore. And he called me up and said, I've got that $500,000. I said, okay, let me call the casino and set you up with somebody, and you can settle your debt. And you had people like that. I mean, you don't want to strong-arm people like that. So the story you're talking about, I had a lawyer with me because I had just settled a big debt in Hong Kong. Usually I didn't take lawyers. It was my way or the highway. I meet the guy. He owns a bunch of clubs in the Ginza, which is world famous for being expensive. And he's a nice guy. I know the guy. I've selected from him before. And I meet him in a section. He owed $300,000, and I met him in a section of his place that wasn't open yet, but you could see the bar and everything else going on. So I got the lawyer with me, and he's new. He didn't know anything about this stuff. So I went in, and a customer came up, brown shopping bag that you get at any store in the country, and he plops it on the table, and he starts taking out $300,000 in U.S. currency. And I said, "Whoa, hold it." I said, "You don't have to count. I'm not counting that. Put it back in the bag." I said, "I've been dealing with you for years." I said, "You trust me? I'm going to go home and FedEx your markers back." He says, "Yeah, no problem." And I said, "Good." Well, at that time, a guy walked in a suit. There was about 5 other guys with him in suits. The customer that I was with runs over there, and he meets him and sits him down, and they're sitting talking. And I can tell they're talking. I don't miss much because of my working undercover. I know everything that's going on around me. So I'm looking over and I'm watching this guy, and you can see he's telling the guy that came in the suit who we are. So they're doing their thing and all that. And I said, "Okay, let's go to the lawyer." He says, "I'm going to go over and say goodbye to the customer." I said, "Don't go near the customer." I said, "Stay away from him." So we get up. And I see the guy that's with the customer, and I see him, motion one of his guys. And now we're walking down this alleyway with $300,000 in cash, and I know that I know who the guy was. The guy, I believe, was the head of the Yakuza for Tokyo. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I know that there ain't going to be a crime within 5 miles of the head of the Yakuza in Tokyo. So we're pretty safe going out there. And we got to the cab, put him in, and I turned, and he sent one of his bodyguards to follow us out to make sure we were all right. And I knew he was there, but the lawyer, he didn't notice him. And, I bowed and thanked him, and he did the same. And off we go to the hotel with a bag full of cash. And the lawyer is saying, "Why didn't you want me to meet him?" I says, "That guy looked like could be the head of the Yakuza. You go over there and want to shake his hand, get your picture taken." I said, "Your ganging days are over, pal." And who would take the pictures? I said, "You don't know who's following this guy around." I said, "Come on." And so he was really excited. Well, then we're walking down the alley with all this money. I said, "Nobody's going to bother us." Yakuza guy was looking up for us, or whoever that guy was. I don't know whether he was in the Yakuza or not. And so he went through. He says, "You do this all the time?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Can you do it?" And I said, "Very carefully. Let me tell you." And he was a mess, but he never asked the question. He never asked a question.
Now, you were traveling a lot for your job, and it seems like you were always in Asia, even though you don't like Asian food, which, by the way, was the funniest part of your book. And by the way, if you certainly pick up Joe's Dash and read for the raccoon story. I'm just going to leave it at that. It's a tease for the readers. But you must have a very supportive wife with all your travels and things like that. Tell me about your family.
Well, it's just right now, it's myself and Karen. I have 2 children from another marriage, and they live in California, and they're in their 50s now. And they're both doing exceptionally well career-wise, and they couldn't wait to read the book because they heard all the stories before. They want to see which ones I left out. And but there's just Karen. Karen, right today, Karen was a singer. Mm-hmm. And she did a USO tour back in 1969 to Southeast Asia, and she performed all over Atlantic City. She was at the Claridge, and she was at the Resorts International you have there?
Yep.
She sang there for a few years. She loves singing in Atlantic City. She said that the response from the customers or their people that go to see him is incredible. She says it's just totally... it was like doing a USO tour. Those guys over in Southeast, they haven't seen a girl in a year, so they're going to stand on their head applauding and stuff. So, but she got tired of the travel. So when she was singing at Caesars, she quit, went to work over at the Hilton in VIP services. And Gomes, when we left there, he told me, he says, we're taking care of him with us. I says, yeah. He said she's going to be the director of VIP services. And then from there at the Dillon, she was the director of entertainment. But she left there and went to work for a small place called Ellis Island Casino out here in Las Vegas. It's a locals place. Well, it used to be, not anymore. And went to work for Gary Ellis when he first bought the place from his father. It was a small place, had 15 slot machines and a restaurant. And now they have something like 24 village pub restaurants throughout the Las Vegas area and Ellis Island, and they're all doing exceptionally well. And Gary Ellis invented a system for slot tracking called marker tracks. And it's going to be huge. Trust me, it's going to go through the roof. And so when Karen went to work for him, he's just a small place, and she's been with him 32 years and expanded it, all his business to what it is today, and eventually became the president of the company. Now his 3 daughters have all graduated from colleges in California, and they're in there. And Karen right now is just basically an assistant to Gary, and the girls are running the property.
Joe, we don't have a lot of time left, but how can people get a copy of Joe's Dash from $1 Million Drug Bust to multi-million dollar collections for Las Vegas casinos? Would Amazon be the best place to get it?
Amazon is the best place. You can go to B. Dalton and places, but they're just going to order it for you.
Okay.
Or they can go to the publishing company.
Huntington Press, Las Vegas.
That's right.
Yes.
Good old Anthony Curtis.
Yep.
He's going to hate me for that one. he's good.
You got his name in on the interview, so he should be happy about it.
Oh, yeah. He's a great guy.
Oh,
I mean, you talk about guy that knows everything about gaming, especially games.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's it. This guy, he is the hero of that, pal. And, but anyway, that's where they can get it. And hopefully they will go out and buy it. It's a lot of people have, the reviews coming back are incredible. And that's not from family members. These are from people I don't even know. So,
Joe Dorsey, author of Joe's Dash, from $1 Million Drug Busts to multi-million dollar collections for Las Vegas casinos. Thanks for coming on and talking about the book and your life. It's an amazing story, and I urge everyone out there to pick up a copy of Joe's Dash. Thanks for talking with us about it.
I appreciate all your help, Dave, and Doug also. So I hopefully may be talking to you again.
I hope so. Stick around. We'll be right back with more Turnpike Sports.
Yeah, you, come here. Haven't you heard? We don't need to hide anymore.
Now, we can shop privately for adult products at adamandeve.com. They've got massage oils, lingerie, and lots more we can't mention here. Use offer code SPICE404. They'll give you 50% off almost any one item, 3 free DVDs, free mystery gift, and free shipping. That's 50% off, free shipping, and more. Private shopping starts at
casino. People gotta win sometime.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a giant, colorful check to deposit.
Beatin The House is brought to you by BetMGM Casino. Play your favorite casino games at BetMGM Online Casino. Slots, table games, live dealer games, everything you love about Atlantic City and Vegas, all online at BetMGM. Don't wait. Join in the fun now. Go to BetMGM Casino, create an account using our promo code Turnpike, and become a verified player. New players get $25 free when signing up, plus a first deposit bonus up to $1,000. That's promo code Turnpike at BetMGM.com for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus $25 free. Grab a lion's share of the fun at BetMGM.com. Must be 21 years or older to place a bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And welcome to this week's edition of Beatin the House, where we talk about the jackpot wins from all over the country as well as internationally. We do the casino wins, the slots, the bad beats, the basically any kind of jackpot you see, lottery especially, Keno, bingo. We haven't had a bingo yet. I should say that.
We haven't had a bingo.
I hope we get a bingo at some point. But we're going to start off in New Jersey.
Okay. Got a record.
BetMGM has announced that they paid out an online casino record of $3.5 million.
Unbelievable.
Now, we're going to get a little confusing here because it was BetMGM releasing this statement, but it happened on the Borgata online platform, which is owned by BetMGM.
Which, by the way, in New Jersey, for people who don't know, there's a BetMGM casino and poker site.
Yep.
And there's also a Borgata online casino and Borgata poker site.
And also a party casino and party poker site.
Yeah.
All owned by BetMGM. They fall under that umbrella.
All under MGM. But they're different sites.
Right.
And different wallets, by the way, because I play on both Borgata and BetMGM. And
you're never going to let that go.
I have different wallets. No, but that's fine.
The shared wallet, you know. But anyway, we're going to go to, like I said, we're going to be on Borgata online here.
All right.
According to BetMGM, the jackpot winner was playing the MGM Grand Million slot. On a $10 spin, she won the largest online casino payout, $3.5 million.
Wow, boy.
Let's see.
What the hell do you do right after you're sitting in your living room or your bedroom or whatever, you see you just won $3 million. Do you, look twice at it? Do you jump up? Do you run around your house? What is the feeling when you're sitting at home? It's a quiet afternoon on a whatever weekday it is, and all of a sudden you just have $3.5 million instantaneous in your account.
Well, this happened at night.
Okay.
So I don't know if she slept.
Probably not.
Identified as Dory B.
Do you call someone? Do you call MGM? Do you call Borgata? Who do you call? Do you just to check it out? I mean, do you check it out? Do you run around the house? Do you call family members? What do you do?
I'm assuming when you win this size jackpot, there's a customer service person right there.
You would think so?
I would think so.
Will there be an immediate email or a text or a something flashing
on
your
screen? Or an
screen?
instant message from one of the customer service?
I
don't know. But somebody should get a screenshot of when that happens.
Yeah,
you know,
right?
we see all the pictures of people standing next to their slots and everything else, but I want to see when it happens.
It says I won $3.5 million. Okay, now what do I do? What do I do? Do I immediately try and get into my bank account? Do I take it out of the account for Borgata? What do you do?
I wonder what the limit is for withdrawal.
I don't know. How about the time period? I'm sure, it takes a little time to withdraw $3.5 million from an online casino account into your personal bank account.
I would just love to see how the screen looks when you look up into that corner and you see a huge, huge number like that. I wonder if it actually shows up like that.
I don't know if it's something special or if it's the same sign that you won $10. Is that the same thing? Congratulations, you won $3.5 million. Would you like to spin
I would
again?
hope not, because I wouldn't even notice if it was that way.
Would you like to spin again?
Well, this was a $10 spin, and it was one spin. That's all she played.
Whoa.
That's all she played was one spin.
Okay.
And this eclipsed the record by about $300,000, which was also on BetMGM. $3.2 million on, it doesn't say whether or not it was BetMGM Casino.
This wasn't BetMGM. This was Borgata.
Well, still BetMGM had to pay it out.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but again, it is if you're not in states that have the BetMGM brand or the or the Borgata brands, you're not familiar with how this is set up. It's one company that owns both those brands. Borgata Casino was also paid out by BetMGM. BetMGM's casino is paid out by BetMGM as well.
Okay.
So, congratulations to Dory.
Yeah.
We're going over to San Diego, California now. The Sycuan Casino Resort. A Lucky Club Sycuan member and Chula Vista resident, Juan B., won a massive $1.157 million jackpot while playing the Monopoly Money Grab slot machine.
Monopoly, huh? Boy, that's a...
I haven't heard too much about Monopoly games lately, have
really?
you?
No, I see them all over the place. Yeah, no, they're I guess the slot players would call it they're on the looser side, which means you can win big money on the Monopoly things.
Well, this game was released in 2019 by Scientific Games. I looked this up because I really wasn't familiar with the Monopoly Money Grab.
There's a lot of versions of the Monopoly thing. It's like Wheel of Fortune. There's
not as much
as Wheel of Fortune, but there's a lot of Monopoly versions.
Well, the game features the thrilling Money Grab feature.
Thrilling.
Where randomly a full stack of wilds lands on the reels and Mr. Monopoly comes out and makes it rain.
Okay.
That's pretty much right from the company website.
Okay, yeah.
Also, they have this feature called the Hit and Win mechanic. It's a chance to win one of two different free games and a Monopoly wheel where the player can be awarded features like free games or bonus money. So it's got a couple different ways of playing.
The way you're describing it sounds like one of those machines that take up the entire wall, or it has a built-in seat or something like that.
You mean a cabinet?
A cabinet, yeah. Well, yeah, cabinet. I guess that's the proper way to say it.
That's the official name for that.
Yeah, but
type
some
of
of these cabinets are huge. I mean, this sounds like it'd be a very, very large game.
It can be.
It's not in a. It's not fifth in a row in the middle.
No,
of a gaming
it's not
floor.
one of those.
This one's a big one.
This would be in its own bank kind of thing.
Yeah.
And also, I took a look at Sycuan Casino. They started out as a bingo palace.
Is that how you say it?
Sycuan.
It's Sycuan.
Yes.
Sycuan?
Yes, Sycuan.
Sycuan?
That's the tribe's name.
Okay.
So they just recently completed a $260 million expansion, 12-story luxury hotel, and over 300 guest rooms and 57 suites. Just a little plug for Sycuan.
That's huge.
Going over to Vegas now.
All right.
At the Four Queens Hotel. Now, according to the Four Queens, the guest identified as Mary from Catoosa, Oklahoma. Not Cataloosa, Catoosa, Oklahoma. Catoosa. If anyone knows where Catoosa, Oklahoma is, please let us know. Hit a jackpot worth $388,000 playing the Wheel of Fortune quarter machine.
Oh, we were just talking about Wheel of Fortune.
Exactly. That's why I had them in that order.
There's Wheel of Fortune.
Any kind of slot discussion always leads into a Wheel of Fortune.
I really should read these notes before we start talking about it. But it's pretty cool that I mentioned Wheel of Fortune and you have something on the Wheel of Fortune.
Well, the Four Queens gave out a nice jackpot to Mary from Catoosa.
Oh, congratulations, Mary from Catoosa.
I actually got
a fun name to say, Catoosa.
They didn't release too many more details of what Wheel of Fortune quarter machine she was playing. There's at least 30 of those out there, too, you know. The brick-and-mortar casinos that there are different Wheel of Fortune versions.
You know, they should change the classification of that. Quarter machines. I mean, you really putting a quarter in anymore? No one puts a quarter in anymore.
That's the minimum bet.
Yeah, I know. But, you know, you probably should kind of say it kind of differently.
Yeah,
quarters have nothing to do with these slot machines anymore.
Well, I think some of them still you can put a coin in. I don't think them at the major casinos. I think you could still probably find some coin-operated ones.
Yeah, if anyone knows, are there still coin slot machines?
There's got to be.
I mean, there has to be. It's just like kind of a throwback.
I mean, even in some of the small-town gambling areas, you know, in Nevada, probably have a couple coin-operated ones. Some of those small towns that have the slots there. But again, Wheel of Fortune quarter machine, no detail on which version of the Wheel of Fortune machine. So we're going to move on for our last entry this week, short segment. Treasure Island, Las Vegas. They provided the summary of the November jackpots at the casino.
Oh, they throw out the whole November winnings, huh? The people who won in November.
It awarded...
Well, these are the jackpots. Well, I'm
Yeah.
sure people win all the time at Treasure Island, but these are the real big winners, right?
Well, the casino gave out more than $80,000 in jackpots this past November,
Okay.
and a total of 7 jackpots of about $10,000 each, maybe more. Some of these are a lot more. Awarded to visitors last month. The biggest jackpot was $18,626.
That's a good day's work there.
And I'm going to go through these,
All right.
and I haven't heard of some of these games.
You have not.
I have not.
Okay.
Alma D from Texas won $10,500 on Hot Hit Bonus Rainbow Riches. Never heard of that one.
Nope.
Teresa N. from Texas won $10,500 on Solistic Celebration Grand Progressive.
Wow. Solistic Celebration. Huh? That's the name of
That's just an incredible name for anything, really. That sounds like some kind of... That doesn't sound like a name for a slot machine.
Weird, yeah.
Jody T. from California won $18,626. That was the largest one of the bunch here on the 777 Jackpot Progressive.
I think I've heard of that one.
Yep. Deborah F. from Michigan won $11,000 on Dancing Drum Progressive.
I've heard of
Not
that
the
one.
Dancing Drum Explosions. This is the original.
Okay.
Dancing
this
Drum.
is the original. This is the Dancing Drum Classic.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Petronilla D. won $11,000.
Great name.
Yeah.
Petronella. I like that.
On Ultimate Fire Link Grand Progressive.
Okay.
Crisbell S. from California won $11,200 on Ultra Rush Gold Grand Progressive.
Okay.
Great. You know, it's amazing. These names of these games are getting more
There
and
are
more
so many
complicated.
slot machines. Your mind spins when you walk onto a gaming floor.
And Tina T. from California won $10,300 on the Dancing Drums Progressive.
Hey, a big month for dancing drums.
I have to admit, I
think I played that in Philadelphia. I think that's what it was.
I got to take a closer
I
look.
think I won $10 on it too.
I'm trying to figure out what the difference between the Dancing Drums and the Dancing Drums Explosion. I know there's probably
so many versions.
gobs of differences between the two games, but again, I got to look up this Solistic Celebration game. That's an amazing name. I've never heard of it before.
I don't know what that
but,
is.
but
You know what? I'll check online for it. Maybe
that's a great game, a great name for a game, but also it almost sounds like a 70s psychedelic band name too.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this week's Beatin the House segment. Keep those press releases coming in. info@turnpikesportsradio.com, and we'll be sure to talk about your property's jackpot in the next episode.
Our Week 14, I can't believe it's Week 14 already. Our NFL picks are next, so stick around. We'll be right back with more Turnpike Sports. We'll get back to the show in a few moments, but I just wanted to take some time and tell everyone about Bean Genius, the smart specialty coffee subscription service. Bean Genius sells freshly roasted coffee from some of the best independent coffee roasters in the country. They feature over 2,000 specialty coffee blends, all at your fingertips at beangenius.com. Here's how it works. Head on over to beangenius.com and take their palate profiler test to find out what coffee best fits your taste. Then select from a variety of subscription plans. Every subscription comes with free shipping, and delivery can even be scheduled for once or twice each month. And based upon your review of each coffee blend you try, Bean Genius actually learns your individual taste preferences and then suggests future coffee blends for you. And now you can get 10% off your Bean Genius subscription when you use our promo code PIKE at checkout. Bean Genius offers a variety of subscription plans to suit any coffee lover's needs. Subscribe with Bean Genius today and start enjoying some of the best tasting coffee around. And save 10% off your coffee plan with promo code PIKE. This week's Turnpike Sports Pro Pick segment is brought to you by Play Sugar House Online Sportsbook. Join now at PlaySugarHouse.com with the promo code PIKE and get a first deposit bonus up to $250. Play Sugar House offers some of the best football promotions and profit boosts around. Get a 20% NFL parlay boost by just logging in every Sunday, or take advantage of their early week 20% profit boost every Tuesday for the weekend's NFL and college football games. That's promo code PIKE at PlaySugarHouse.com to get your first deposit bonus up to $250. More bets, better odds at PlaySugarHouse.com. Must be at least 21 years or old to place a bet. Terms and conditions apply. New customers only. Problem gambler, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And welcome to the Week 14 games of the NFL season. I can't believe it's Week 14 already.
Yeah, I know.
I'm glad we have an extra week because now this entire 2021 season has been going so fast.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't believe that.
I have been doing terribly, by the way.
No, you haven't. No.
I can't believe the amount of pushes I have this year.
I had a huge lead going into November.
Okay, all right.
I have now, forget it.
You don't have a lead
I have
anymore?
had a bad November. It carried over into the first week in December. I have not really had too many winning weeks since September.
Okay.
But before we get into our totals, I just wanted to go through some interesting stats for this week, number 14. There are 11 home favorites in week 14.
Okay.
Which, that's kind of a heavy home favorite schedule. We haven't seen that too often this year.
Let me just tell you, I went against two of them. So I went
against one of them. So.
Okay, all right. Now, are we going to have the same games again? Didn't we have two of the same games last week or the week before or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Something strange.
I know we had the same game last week, but we did different things for it.
Okay,
So,
all right.
which led to me winning, which led to you winning and me losing.
Okay.
So, but anyway, again, 11 of week 14 games feature home favorites, and you would think the home favorite, would actually be kind of an important thing here, but in
Sure.
2021, it's not.
Okay.
Through the first 13 weeks, home teams are 81, 108, and 1 against the spread.
Wow.
That's a winning percentage of about 42, 43%.
Well, let me just say, I hope that trend continues for the sake of my my week's picks.
Well, it's interesting because if you think about last year where they were playing with empty stadiums, and you would think that would be a worse winning percentage than this year with the fans in the stands cheering them on, all that stuff. This year's winning percentage, 42, 43% for 2021, is down almost 50% from last year at this time. So I think the empty stadiums may have helped some of the home teams compared to this year. But, again, glad everyone's back in the stands, though.
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
This week, we are, like I said, going into week 14. We're going to be using Play Sugar House's lines again this week. Tuesday lines, spreads and totals, 3 games each. No money line betting here. And these will be put up on the blog after the show is released, turnpikesportsradio.com. Click on the blog button. Last week, my losing ways have continued. I went 1-2. You went 3-0.
Yeah, my first. I think it's my first 3-0. It's
Second.
my second 3-0. Oh, okay, I didn't even know that.
See, I'm actually keeping track.
Yeah,
of these
you
things.
are.
Stupidly, because it's just making me more and more depressed.
No, I actually thought last week was my first 3-0 winning week, but I guess not.
No, you went 3-0 one time before.
Okay.
So, and season to date, I used to have this huge lead on you.
Okay.
I am now 19-19-1.
All right.
You are 18-18-3.
Okay.
So all our pushes are the difference here.
Yeah, boy, the pushes.
So I don't know what would have happened if we didn't have any pushes, but basically we're tied. I got out to a huge lead like I usually do by mid-September, by September, even maybe first week in November. But as always, you have come from behind and are now tied with me, and I think
it's a marathon, not a sprint. That's what I'm trying to do.
I know. And quite honestly, it looks like I'm running out of steam.
Okay.
Anyway, let's get to the picks. Like I said, 3 picks, 3 games each, spreads and totals, no money line. So I think I went first last week.
Okay, I'll let me go
Go
first.
ahead. Yeah.
All right, my first game is the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Minnesota Vikings, who are favored by 3.5 points with a over-under of 45. I love the way the Steelers are playing right now, and I hate the way the Vikings are playing. Get this. Last week, I won betting on the Steelers, and I won betting against the Vikings. So you know what? I'm going to do that again this week. The Vikings are 2-7 against the spread in their last 9 home games and 6-13 against the spread in their last 19 games overall, and I think that trend will continue. So I'm going with the underdog Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, my first game is a classic game. The Las Vegas Raiders at Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Chiefs are favored by 9.5. The over-under is 49. Quite honestly, the last 3 meetings between these teams have resulted in totals of, get these numbers, 55 points, 67 points, and 72 points.
I was looking at the over on that one.
I
didn't take it. But.
That's their last 3 totals, and 3 of the Raiders' last 4 games have been against the Bengals, Cowboys, and Chiefs. Also, great offenses, and they have led to a lot of scoring against that Raiders defense. Raiders have been very inconsistent, but the over is 5-1 in the Raiders' last 6 against AFC West opponents, and 4-1 in the Raiders' last 5 games as an underdog, which is what they are here. I really was starting to lean towards taking the Raiders as the underdog, but that's probably going to bite me in the ass here. But I went with the over 49.
Okay. My next game is the Baltimore Ravens versus the Cleveland Browns, who are favored by 2.5 points with an over-under of 42.5 points. The Cleveland Browns are a mess right now, and I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to take advantage of that this weekend. Cleveland, in their 12 games this season, they have won against the spread only 5 times. And get this one, I love this stat. The Browns have also been favored by 2.5 points or more. They're favored by 2.5 this game.
Well, right now anyway.
Well, right now. So that's when I took it. So they were favored by 2.5 points or more 5 times, and they only covered the spread in one of those games. So I'm going with the trend in this one. I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens.
I did this game as well.
Okay.
And I did the exact same thing. Baltimore plus 2.5. Both teams are terrible. I mean, offensively, they've not been playing well at all. No one's really been scoring.
The Ravens
are
a lot less terrible than the Cleveland Browns.
But the Ravens are a lot more injured.
Yeah, that's true.
And they just lost another guy in the last week's game, another offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be kind of an interesting patchwork offensive line moving ahead here. I don't know exactly how they're going to be playing, but Baltimore hasn't scored over 19 points in the last 4 weeks. As a matter of fact, it's one of those things where Cleveland has also not been scoring a lot of points either, and that's something to do with their offense that's not working.
Well,
right
the total's 42.5 points. Yeah. So
I was tempted. I was tempted with that, but I think that's going to go up by the time we get closer to kickoff. So, but the Ravens are 4-0 against the spread in the last 4 meetings between these teams, and 10-2-1 against the spread in their last 13 games in Cleveland. Also, the road team, 16-7-1 against the spread in their last 24 meetings.
Wow.
So all those numbers are leading me to go with Baltimore plus 2.5.
My next game is the Buffalo Bills versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are favored by 3.5 points with a total of 52.5 points. As this season has progressed, the Buffalo Bills have seemed to have gotten worse. I mean, they were a lot of people's pick for the Super Bowl at the start of the season. But with losses to the Jaguars, Colts, and the Patriots last Monday night, it looks like they have to figure more things out. I mean, this week will certainly not get any easier for them because I think Tom Brady will pick the Buffalo Bills defense apart. I jumped on this game because of the number the books put on it. I mean, I'm very surprised that the Buccaneers are only 3.5-point favorites at home against a struggling Buffalo team. I'd be very curious to see how these numbers change as the week goes on, but if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home, 3.5 points against a struggling Buffalo Bills team, I mean, I'm taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and laying the points. This one might change. Like I said, this one might change.
I mean, kickoff.
So if you see it, is it the look-ahead number that I'm I'm looking at right now? Tampa Bay at home, only 3.5-point favored? Yeah, I'm taking that one.
That actually may go up to about 5.5.
I think so. I'm surprised it was. Normally a team gets that 3-point home bump that everyone. Well, this is only 3.5.
The other thing you got to figure into this is what the effect the Monday night loss is going to have on that number. Since we're using Tuesday numbers, they really haven't factored in that.
This was Tuesday.
If you see 3.5, though, I would say jump on that as well.
Yeah, Tampa Bay. Yeah, 3.5.
That's an early bet.
Yeah, that's a look ahead.
Yeah. My last game, Seattle Seahawks favored by 7.5 at the Houston Texans. The over-under is 42.5. These two teams have not played each other since 2017.
Really? Okay.
It was kind of an interesting thing looking up their records, and they haven't played each other in a while. And other than Seattle's game against the Niners last week, neither of these teams have been playing well offensively. They've been playing very badly. Seattle doesn't look like Seattle anymore, both on offense or defense, but they did get back to a little bit of the old offensive style with letting Russell Wilson run around a little bit, play his game, not the pocket passing that he's been doing. It's just, Seattle has not scored a lot of points. The last 3 weeks before that Niners game, they scored a total of 28 points total over 3 weeks, and one of them they were shut out in. So I just think between that offense and the Houston Texans are dealing with a Tyrod Taylor injury. I'm not sure if he's playing or not, but even if he is playing, he's not going to be 100%. So I don't think the Houston offense is going to look that great either. So I'm going with the under 42.5 in this game.
Wow.
Don't know if that's going to come back.
Not exactly a barn burner. You're not predicting a barn burner. Huh?
No, the way Seattle, both
right.
these teams have been playing, no. I again, could be wrong, but of the two of them, only Seattle has one game that actually had some offense in it over the last 4 weeks.
Okay.
All right, let's recap.
All right, I'm taking the underdog Pittsburgh Steelers against the Minnesota Vikings, who are favored by 3.5 points. I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens, who are the underdog in the Cleveland Browns game. The Cleveland Browns are favored by 2.5. And I'm taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who I can't believe are only 3.5 point favorites against the struggling Buffalo Bills.
And I am doing the over 49 points in the Raiders-Chiefs game, Baltimore plus 2.5 against the Browns, and the under 42.5 in the Seahawks-Texans games. As always, these will be put up on the blog, turnpikesportsradio.com. Click on the blog button, and feel free to comment on them. Feel free to comment on us making these dumb picks.
Yeah, right.
We're just doing this for fun, guys. So it's, make sure you do your own research and actually check the lines as you go through the weeks.
Absolutely.
Here. Some of these are going to change. Some of these are really good lines now.
I'm always fascinated to see the changing of the lines throughout the week. It's a really interesting thing where the money goes, how the injury and how COVID is affecting these lines. It's a very interesting thing. I check the lines every day I find it fascinating.
Well, I also want to see how the Super Bowl futures are changing now.
Sure.
We're seeing some teams start to emerge, and it's really kind of interesting to watch the trajectories a lot of these teams are going. Some going down, some going up.
Yep. The book report is next, so stick around. We'll be right back with more Turnpike Sports.
Turnpike Sports Book Report.
The Turnpike Sports Book Report is brought to you by BorgataSports.com. Your favorite casino is now your favorite sportsbook. Available anywhere in New Jersey, BorgataSports.com. Sign up at BorgataSports.com using our promo code PIKE, that's P-I-K-E. Make your first wager of $20 or more and you'll get $100 in free bets. That's $100 in free bets when your first wager on Borgata Sports is $20 or more. Get into the action with BorgataSports.com. Must be 21 years or older and in New Jersey to place a bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And welcome to this week's edition of the Turnpike Sports Book Report, where I think the word of the day is going to be records.
Yes, state records are being set everywhere.
Well, it's kind of interesting because we just went through another long week. We're here at the end of a week where we just got back from the SBC Summit North America. It's the end of the week here, and still another busy week in the sports betting industry.
It's always a busy week.
October is continuing to set records. We've got a bunch of legislative updates all of a sudden to talk about, a couple launches as well, and some deals to hit.
Oh, and by the way, a state first reporting its numbers.
Yes, the very first state.
We
also have the first sports betting bill filed for the upcoming legislative session.
Okay,
so,
all right.
A couple of firsts.
Yeah.
But let's start with the numbers. Let's hit some of the highlights here. Nevada has now joined the $1 billion club. They just set a record handle in October of $1.1 billion in handle for sports betting.
I should be smug and say, way to go, Nevada. I mean, you're still not New Jersey, but gosh darn it, you're doing great.
You're patting them on the head?
Yes.
Well, they have now joined New Jersey as the
As
only
an unofficial
two states.
Representative of New Jersey, I want to welcome Nevada to the $1 billion a month club.
I'm very curious to see if they actually have the same streak New Jersey's having. New Jersey has done it twice in a row now, September and October, both over $1 billion.
In November, I'm hearing rumblings that it's not that great. So
really,
not sure. I'm kind of hearing rumblings. First off, it's never going to live up to October. October has every sport playing. It's got the World Series. It's got every sport you want. October's the money pot right there for sports betting.
Well, if you don't count the March Madness stuff and all,
it's still.
I don't know. I mean, I think October, and the only reason I'm going to say you may see November challenging October is because we have more states coming on board.
Okay, we'll do that. But on a state-by-state basis, I think you're going to see numbers in November that are a little lower, maybe in some cases a lot lower than October's.
Well, staying with Nevada, Nevada's October handle ranks second all-time nationally.
To who?
New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
As a matter of fact, New Jersey holds the first and third position. They had the October handle was $1.31 billion, and the September handle was about $1.1. But basically, what Nevada did in October.
Mm-hmm.
So first is Jersey, second Nevada, third is Jersey.
I'm joking around. I'm being a jerk, but it's great to see these numbers coming out of Nevada because one of the arguments when all this sports betting started outside of Nevada was, gee, is this going to hurt Nevada? Are the numbers going to go down for Nevada? But it's really great to see Nevada pull in this kind of number with the growth of sports betting in other states.
Well, we're not done talking about
Nevada. Did I cover
Nevada.
myself after
yes,
that?
You did. Yes, you did. Nevada's year-to-date revenue for 2021 of $357.2 million is the most by that state's sports books in a single year since sports betting became legal on a state-by-state basis, since PASPA was overturned. Mm-hmm. The previous high in revenue was $329 million. That was back in 2019. But their year-to-date revenue for this year, 2021, $357.2 million.
Great.
Let's go to... We had a whole bunch of other states reporting. We had Nevada, Colorado, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Virginia, Delaware reported their numbers. And it's kind of interesting to see everybody in that family of states set records except for Delaware.
Okay.
Delaware did not set a record. But we have Colorado became the 17th state to set a monthly all-time high for handle in October, followed by Virginia, which became the 18th state to set a record handle in October.
Didn't they, Virginia, didn't they get to $2 billion the quickest?
Virginia became the quickest state in the United States history to reach $2 billion in lifetime wagers. They did it in fewer than 10 months. New Jersey was the previous fastest, did it in 10 months.
Oh, so they broke New Jersey's record by what, days? Is that
Again,
what we're
another
talking
New
about?
Jersey thing, yes.
Well, I'm just talking. They're each 10 months.
Virginia started January 21st.
So
of this year, January 21st of this year.
Okay, they got to $2 billion. It's
just under 10 months.
Just under 10 months. Okay,
yeah, fewer than 10 months.
I'm starting to figure out how they broke New Jersey's record when they.
New Jersey was the
months.
quickest, and then all of a sudden Virginia comes in, does it in just under 10 months.
Just under 10 months. Okay,
yes.
So New Jersey got to $2 billion in 10 months. Virginia got to $2 billion in fewer than 10 months. So Virginia has the record.
Virginia is the quickest.
That's what we were trying to say.
I'm waiting to see who's going to break for that record, though. There's got to be someone coming out of nowhere that's going to be able to break that record in terms of handle.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of
maybe Arizona,
Florida.
Florida's not even out of the.
Well,
the
I mean,
yet.
when Florida starts, they have some pretty big cities in Florida.
I'm thinking Arizona may be the fastest.
Well, Arizona, yeah, sure, Arizona, but Florida has some pretty big cities. Once Florida starts, I'm curious to see how quickly they get to $2 billion.
New York may.
Well, they do have sports betting already.
Well,
they don't have mobile sports betting.
Exactly. But I'm just wondering what other state. California, maybe?
California is so far away from having sports betting.
Well, there's 4 ballot initiatives being pushed through. So
great. You know how long they take to do?
We had Rhode Island and New Hampshire both set record handles. We had Connecticut releasing their very first numbers.
Yes.
They reported a total handle of 54.6 million. Now, most of that was online because they had a soft launch on October 12th of just the online books. The retail books didn't open until the last week in October.
So who's the big winner in Connecticut?
It was DraftKings.
So that's
Foxwoods.
Foxwoods, yeah, Foxwoods.
The 2-story.
It's interesting. As we're speaking right now, the morning show from Veasan is coming from the DraftKings and Foxwoods.
Really?
Yes. They announced it last week, which is right now when we're taping this. I'm trying to project so I can say right now, Veasan's in Foxwoods.
Well, according to
for the week anyway,
Mashantucket Pequot Tribe, which is Foxwoods.
Yes.
They saw more revenue from the online book than the retail book, which goes without saying because the online book was running longer than the retail book. But from what I hear, the retail book is beautiful.
Well, I hope to see it. Like I said, Veasan's in there this week. I probably have seen it already. I can predict the future when I'm taping this so far in advance. So, they're going to be there, and it should be a great time. And first off, mobile is going to do great in Connecticut. Anytime you have these northern states, January, February, and most of March, even a little part of April, the weather is awful. It's terrible. You don't want to go outside. The wind is stinging. In Connecticut, Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun, I pluralized that, well, I don't know why. They're out in the middle of nowhere. They're in the woods, and it is cold as hell out there in the wintertime. So if you can do mobile sports betting in Connecticut, do it.
Going over to another state that begins with the letter C, we mentioned Colorado became the 17th state to set a monthly all-time high for handle in October. They also became the 9th state to surpass $25 million in revenue in a month.
Oh, okay.
They joined New Jersey, of course, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Indiana, Virginia, Michigan, and Tennessee.
Well, look, Colorado's a top-tier market when it comes to sports betting. So
Very quickly became a top-tier market.
It's really great.
What do they have?
I don't even know how many sports books they have in there.
They've got 25, 26 online books.
Something crazy.
But again,
I'm saying something crazy. New Jersey is like 23, 24. I don't know.
Well, it's a matter of having an open market. Not doing
Sure.
the deals like New Hampshire and New York have been doing.
I got to tell you, there's nothing like. Everyone says, oh, my God, the market's so crowded. But you know what? That's so good for the consumer because each of the sports books are trying to outdo the other one in, props and benefits for your customers and promotions and things like that. It is so great. You know how many free bets you get in these different sports books just to make it more attractive to customers? There's nothing like a free market competition to really help out the consumer.
Well, again, it's also a matter of even without the promos, because like states like Nevada don't allow the online books to offer promos.
They don't?
No.
Really? Huh.
So
I know their menu is a lot less than New Jersey.
talking
I know
about the sign-up bonuses,
well,
the first free bets, all
I know,
that stuff.
I know that kind of stuff is a lot less than New Jersey. I know it's a lot less than Colorado. I know a lot of sports bettors who say, you know what, we're looking at moving to Colorado because you can make more money in Colorado with your betting. So Nevada probably would have to change that in the future.
They still have the in-person registration.
Yeah, I know. They're going to have to do something. I mean, there's just so much competition, so they got to change with the times. Although they had $1.1 billion in handle, so I don't know how much changing they have to do.
Well, you got to remember, Nevada was aided by the fact that Las Vegas finally reopened, too.
Yeah, but they've been open for a couple months now. They've been open since...
They had one of their best tourist months in October.
Well, also, a lot of poker players went to Las Vegas for the World Series of Poker, and that sure helped everything out.
Well, according to some of the research out there, Las Vegas tourism, they reached their highest visitor count since the pre-pandemic.
Well, they're certainly
October.
They're certainly pushing it. I see a lot of commercials. Visit Las Vegas, visit Nevada in New Jersey here. So they're really making a push for tourism.
I'm wondering how the winter months on the East Coast are going to help Nevada, because there's got to be a lot of people trying to get out for the winter. January, February. I mean, I know Super Bowl. But I wonder how much more it's going to be aided by the cold weather on the east, bring people over to the west.
Well, look, I mean, we usually go to Atlantic City for the Super Bowl, and it's packed because the deals are so great. I mean, first off, I don't like flying, and I certainly don't like flying nowadays and things like that. It's just crazy there. So you know what? I stay in my home state. I go to Atlantic City. And the deals are great because, like I said, there's a lot of casinos there. There's a lot of hotels there, and they're really competing for your dollar, and it keeps the prices down. And there's tons of stuff to do in the different sports books in the city, and it's great. And the promos are amazing online too for the sports books, the mobile sports books. So it pays to stay home.
Well,
for me anyway.
Before we get off the numbers,
all right.
Last number comes from Colorado again. Table tennis.
Oh, geez. What is it, number 6?
Nope.
7?
It's in the top 10. It's number 7.
Okay, it's dropping down. It's usually 6.
10.3.
I don't get that at
$10.3 million in handle.
$10.3 million, really?
It was 2.1% of the state's total handle.
They love their table tennis in Colorado. What's the other one? Oregon loves table tennis, too. So.
But it's still mystifying to me how table tennis has become so popular.
If you make money, if you like watching it, if you make money doing it, good, great, knock yourself out. I just don't get it. Maybe the way I watched it, it was streaming on one of the mobile sports books. Obviously, someone just put a camera there, and you just saw the table. You didn't even see the players; you just saw the ball go back and forth. So the production value wasn't great. Maybe if the production value was better, I'd maybe get into it. Maybe if there were announcers there that filled me in on the different players or the game, and
game's too fast for that kind of stuff.
I know, kind of helped me out and with the game, but the way I saw it, the way I first observed it, it wasn't, it didn't pull me in.
Well, just on an aside with the table tennis that you just mentioned,
yeah,
a company called Better, BETER, overseas.
I've heard of them, yeah.
Just introduced heart rate monitoring for the Setka Cup table tennis tournaments.
Oh, boy.
So you can actually look at the physiological changes during the match and figure out your in-play betting or in-match betting.
Well, the problem with that is I don't know how to interpret that. If someone starts his heart rate
you'd have to learn how to read.
What does that tell me?
It all depends on how they present. See, that's the thing. You got all this raw data, but it's really a matter of how they present the data. And if they're going to show you, like in the video games where a guy's energy is dragging down,
okay,
that could help. The better. I don't know about the raw data unless you know the heartbeat per minute of an average table tennis player.
Data is great. Data helps you out. But what's even more important than the data is some instruction on how to interpret the data. Because if I see somebody, like you said, the heart rate is going up for a table tennis player, Well,
Should it?
Where do I take that? I don't know where to take that. Boy, the other guy's level. Boy, does that mean he's focused and he's focused in on the game, and this other guy's nervous because he's losing? How do I interpret that?
I would assume.
I don't know.
I would assume accelerated heart rate means the guy's either tiring.
That might be a little
I
overkill in information.
I think every little bit helps a better if you're that hardcore into betting on a certain sport.
Yeah,
but
well, if you know how to read it.
Going over to a couple launches in Wisconsin, the Oneida Nation began taking sports bets last week at the tribe's main casino, the Oneida Casino.
Yes, and the bingo queens were there. I don't know what that means, but I read it in the article. But the bingo queens placed the first bet. What does that mean? Is bingo that big there?
Well, the Oneida Casino was a bingo hall.
Okay.
And the two women that they called the bingo queens were actually the pioneers in the bingo industry for that state.
Okay, all right. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What did were they employed by the?
They started up
the
their
bingo
own,
hall, or
I think they were.
Were they
employees,
just really
but they
good
ran
customers?
No, they ran the tournament.
Oh, okay.
So they were the.
Oh, great.
They were famous. They were famous bingo players.
See, that's a cool move. I like that. That was a good move by the casino. You bring in people from the community that really helped out the industry. That was a nice gesture.
And regarding that property, it's the only place sports betting is allowed at the Oneida Casino. The tribe owns 2 other casinos. There's no sports betting at those.
Okay, and I'm assuming no mobile.
No mobile.
No mobile, okay.
And also, the Oneida Casino is right by the main airport in Wisconsin.
Ooh, nice, okay.
So, good location.
Good location.
Ballybet went live in Virginia around Thanksgiving. They are now the 10th sports book in Virginia, and Virginia is also the 3rd state for Ballybet. They're also live in Colorado and Iowa, and the next state they said they have plans to launch in is Indiana. Also in Virginia, state officials granted temporary sports betting licenses to Betway and SI Sportsbook.
Okay.
That'll be the state's 12th and 13th sports books.
Oh, by the way, stay tuned for an interview about Betway coming up very soon, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
See, I asked Doug, he's the producer of this show and also the national radio show, and I'm not sure where the interview is going to go to first. You'll decide, I guess.
Yes, me running all these stuff here,
Yeah.
it kind of explains why sometimes I'm scattered.
Okay. All right.
So, but staying with the
no, but you'll hear a lot more of Betway.
Yes.
in the coming weeks.
On both shows. We're going to be talking about legislation now. We have in California, we just talked about, they're so far away from sports betting. A new poll by FM3 Research and EMC Research indicates only 37% of voters support legalizing online and mobile sports wagering.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Well, how do they feel about retail?
From what
That's
not a
good sign.
From what previous polls have shown, when they talk about overall sports betting, the number does go down. So there is a lot of reticence about sports betting in California. But
boy, is Nevada thrilled to hear that.
Oh, I think Arizona's more thrilled.
We were hoping in New Jersey that New Yorkers didn't want mobile, but nope, they love it. And they're getting it.
We have the actual first bill being filed in Missouri for sports betting. Missouri House Bill 1666 was filed by Republican Representative Phil Cristofanelli. Bill sets forth the tax rate of 6.75%, does not have a official data league mandate. So you can use any data you want. And it allows for sports governing bodies to request that certain events or bet types be banned.
Okay.
So kind of a straight ahead sports betting bill there. Arkansas Racing Commission, which regulates all gambling in the state, is set to vote on December 30th on a rule change that would allow mobile sports betting in the state.
Okay.
So they may actually end up being the first southern state with both mobile and retail.
Great.
Because Florida, it has not yet started anything yet. They had the online only right now, but we'll see what happens with that.
That's
the
still
retail
up in the
books
air.
have not launched yet. Right now, it's going to be kind of interesting to see what happens with Florida. Florida is going to be a big indication moving forward, I think, of how the Department of Interior handles these Indian compacts.
Well,
It's going to be interesting to watch what happens there. We have in Chicago, the Chicago City Council is considering an ordinance that would allow sports book facilities at or near the city's 5 professional sports stadiums.
Okay.
And there's a lot of controversy about it because there's some disinformation being sent out there by opponents of this. They're saying that it's going to be casinos kind of set
I gotta
up
tell you,
near the sports fields.
I remember doing a story about a sports book near or in Wrigley Park.
The story you did a while back.
Months ago.
They still have to go through this ordinance.
Okay.
That's part
right.
of all this. These are going to be sports-themed bars with sports betting inside them.
You mean the kiosks? Is that what we're talking about?
No, they're talking about some tote boards and everything else.
Okay. All right.
But they're also going to be, it's going to be more of a bar with sports betting, not a sports book with a bar.
Okay.
So I think there are semantics there. A couple of deals to hit real quick. Sport Radar announced a multi-year sports betting partnership with PointsBet that establishes Sport Radar. I always want to say Sports Radar. It's Sport Radar as PointsBet's official U.S. supplier of choice for MLB, NBA, NHL, college football, and college basketball. The sixth multi-year deal for Sport Radar with a top-tier sports book for U.S. sports data. They are slowly taking over a lot of stuff. And their only competition out there is Genius.
Yeah, I see Sport Radar's name everywhere. I think I said that last week. Every time I watch a TV show, 9 times out of 10, Sport Radar is in the final credits.
And speaking of the other company, Genius.
Okay.
Genius announced a partnership with the National Lacrosse League.
Oh, okay.
They will be launching a new free-to-play pick'em game called the NLL Pick'em Challenge. Fans are going to have to answer 10 questions every week leading up to the weekend's action for the Lacrosse League. And the winners of these quizzes can get real money or prizes or some sort of package that they get from the NLL.
I have to look up and see if I have a local professional lacrosse team.
Well, which league? NLL is different.
Well, let's stick with the
There's
NLL.
I don't think there is one in New Jersey.
Well, we're near Philadelphia and New York.
There might be a Philly one. I don't know.
I would think New York. Wouldn't they have one in New York?
I have to take a look because it's still not a huge league. It's like 8 teams or 10 teams. So, and last but not least, DraftKings announced a multi-year financial commitment to Kindbridge Research Institute for a new research program to study the nexus of veterans and responsible gaming.
Okay.
Yep. Just wanted to do a responsible gaming story. Throw it in
good.
there. And also, if I remember correctly, I don't have it in my notes here because it just happened, the Rangers, the Knicks, MSG joined the American Gaming Association's Bet Responsibly Have a Game Plan program.
Great.
That's it for this week's book report. The print version of this, which has a lot more stories than we just talked about, will be available about an hour or so after the show publishes. Head on over to turnpikesportsradio.com and click on the blog button there, and you'll see the print version of the book report.
That'll do it for us this week. We'll see you next time on the Turnpike.